This is Zanka, centre-back for Brentford in Denmark.
I'm Gemma Teal. I'm the co-founder of LGBeeTs, the LGBTQIA+ fan group for Brentford SC.
Zanka, Gemma, first of all, thanks for both joining me. Zanka, this year's kind of message is lace up, speak up. You're someone who's done just that over the years as a supporter of the Rainbow Laces campaign. Why is this so important to yourself?
Basically, I think it's because I think football is for everybody, and it's actually that simple. It's just basically I'm all for like fairness, equality, and I think this is something that's been left outside and where the football world has kind of been a few decades behind the real world, and to kind of be in that footballing world and knowing that we're that far behind, and then you walk outside on the street and you feel like we just don't really follow through here. That's why I've actually been that outspoken about my support for the Rainbow Laces campaign, and in general for equality and for the LGBTQ community.
Amazing. And Gemma, as a member of the LGBT group, what impact does the Rainbow Laces campaign have?
The Rainbow Laces, it's nice to have a point every year where we can evaluate, we can have conversations, people hear those conversations, you know, we get to show people that the group are there if they've forgotten. If we have new fans, you know, we can have that opportunity to let people know that we're around and we're there to help them, to engage, to have a drink. And yeah, it's a good focal point for each part of each passing year.
How amazing is it then when you've got people like Zanka, part of the club, who is obviously so passionate about this and supporting you, and as an ally basically for you guys?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, allies in general are so important, and we talk about it a lot. And I think for us, and for me particularly, I think allies are important when they're active. You know, being an ally is more than just, okay, I accept that you're there, I will allow you to live. You know, being an ally is actually standing up and saying something and trying to help bring things forward when they're in a position, you know, like Zanka or Thomas Frank, who often, you know, speaks up for us. That's absolutely huge. You know, the reach and the influence, and anyway, you know, these are people with Brentford fans who we admire, we're excited.
I think that football obviously has been regarded for a long time as a very masculine sport. You're kind of allowed to act very, stupid actually. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do because you're at the football ground. It's football, it's emotions. Whatever is said, it's said on the pitch, and you walk off the pitch and it's forgotten. But football is just so much more than that right now. That might have been right when it was 22 players playing on a pitch out somewhere nobody knows and hears about. But right now, it's everybody watches, everybody listens, and you can, it's really important. And I think when you look at that and put it all together, it's just kind of created an environment that's not very open to different players. And yeah, I think that's just really important as well for us in football, to kind of just lift that finger whenever it actually happens. Somebody says something, it might not be because they actually want to be discriminatory. It may just be their go-to cuss word. Yeah. And I think it's just really important just to say, you know, that's actually not cool. The more you actually do that, and we do it as fans, as players, and everybody, I think that's where we actually get to some sort of change. I do acknowledge that I think there's a big generation that's kind of a lost generation. We can't change their habits. Yeah. But if we teach our youth and all the kids that kind of look up to football players, coaches, influencers, whatever, if you teach them from a very young age that we don't use these kind of words, I think that education will just transfer in and will basically just get rid of the bad apples.
It's interesting what you say though, isn't it? Because I remember growing up, like you say, it was a cuss word, and it still sometimes kind of is, unfortunately. It's thrown at you as an insult, no matter if you're straight or gay. Do you see what I mean? And have you witnessed this kind of language at football games or?
Of course.
How does it make you feel though? When you
personally, generally, kind of angry, and a bit sad. I mean, I've been going to football for a long time. I won't say how long because it makes me feel old, but a long time. And things, you know, certain slurs come in and out of fashion, but there's generally always been some level of homophobia that's thrown in there. It did get a little bit better. It's got a little bit worse recently, if I'm being honest. I think, exactly as you say, there are some things that people say they don't even think about or don't even ever know, actually, the connotations related. You know, we talked recently about the chant that's often used against Chelsea. And I know friends of mine who never ever would have thought of themselves as homophobic but would use that chant, and you say to them, look, this comes from a place of homophobia, we need to not use it. And they're like, but I'm not, and I always happen to say, it's not about you and how you feel necessarily, but that's a homophobic behaviour, you can choose not to use it now. It's okay, don't worry about what you've done, but what are we going to do going forward? You know, I've talked before about the reasons that we started the group, and one of them was, you know, Brentford is my family, it's my home, it's my happy place. And when you hear a homophobic chant and you clock that means, you know, that's anti-you, and you sort of think, hang on, this is my people telling me I'm not welcome and how that feels. That's huge, that's really painful. And I think if people understand more the impact of saying something or not saying something versus actually how hard it is for you to engage with it by, yeah, do you know, we're going to put that chant aside or we're going to put that word aside, the balance is clear there. And I think if you think more about the impacts, then the asks don't seem so huge.
For young players, I think a lot of talent just kind of get lost because if you're in that system, if you're in that environment, you love football. A lot of people, everybody loves football. Football's for everybody. But you have that sexual orientation or whatever it might be, and you feel like you're getting targeted directly, indirectly, every single day with behavior, with words, actions, all these things. At some point, you're going to start loving football because you're going to think, well, is those 90 minutes out there or that training, is that actually worth the abuse that I'm feeling directly or indirectly every day? And I think there's a lot of really talented football players, if you want to look at that aspect, that goes lost in the system and that's why I think we don't have maybe that many openly gay football players, because I think it's very difficult to reach the top if you have, it's hard enough to get through that, what do you call it, like to get to the top level.
Yeah.
And if you then have to face another challenge in actually, do I want to actually put my heart and soul in this? I think that makes it more or less impossible for a person to overcome that.
You almost can't be yourself doing the thing that you love the most, really, can you?
I think most of us have been in a situation at work or something where we don't feel we can quite bring our whole self. And you think, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means you can't talk about what you did at the weekend. It means you can't talk about your partner if you have one. In football and high level, it might mean you can't have one. You know, it all takes energy, and it all takes thought, and all of that energy and thought is coming away from what you want to be doing, what you should be doing. You know, and exactly as you say, it takes a lot, obviously, to become a high-level sports person, and I imagine you don't have much spare in terms of energy to put towards hiding yourself. And it's similar for a fan. If constantly you're being told, this isn't for you, this isn't for you, you're less, this isn't your place, why wouldn't you fall out of love with it? You know, probably there are gay male players in higher levels. There'll be one or two, I'm sure. I can totally understand why they don't come out. because it's not just about the fans, it's about the colleagues, it's about, do I get another club? Am I going to be too much bother? Am I going to have people outside my house every day? All these things. And then on top of that, exactly as you say, Zanka, so many won't be coming through. Just like so many, youngsters who loved watching football or playing football give up because it's not a place for them, in the rest of the world. One of the things we do as a group is we have a flag in the ground. It used to be a bit more prominent at Griffin Park, but it's a bigger ground and it's a slightly bigger flag, but you don't really see it so much, but it's there. And obviously engaging with the other fan groups in making sure there was the other anti-discriminatory flags in the ground. Obviously some of that is for fans to say, look, we're here, we're with you. If you're in this position, you can come to us, you're not alone. But we also, particularly with our group flag, we're really keen that it's also there if there is a player or a member of staff who's in the LGBTQ community, who they know we're there as well. I guess one of the things I'd love to ask you is, as players, do you see things like that?
I think we do. Obviously, there's a lot of things in our heads, but especially walking around after the game, clapping the fans, whether win or lose, you do pick up on a lot of things. You do pick up on the small boards with the, can I have your t-shirt? Can I get this? You pick up on all these things. Sometimes you have to act like you didn't, but so you do. Everything that's kind of welcoming and involving, that gets picked up. Whether, again, if you actually do it consciously or subconsciously, it gets picked up. And I think for me, I've been in football for quite a long time. I think it's 14 years playing professionally, and I've been a few places, a few countries. And I think definitely the feeling that I get here at Brentford is that it's very, very inclusive. It is very much like you feel like you're coming home, you're here, there's all kinds of different people, but what you feel is the love towards the football. You don't really feel or hear that many cuss words. You do still hear cuss words. Yeah, but I think it's generally a really good atmosphere in regards to inclusion, and you don't get that a lot in football, I'll tell you that. So yeah, I think you do.
Obviously, this campaign is so important. We kind of discussed it. Do you think then, Zanka, that's kind of making sure that this isn't just for this kind of couple of weeks and not just during this campaign, that we're talking about these things and we make sure it's an all year round and it's almost a day-to-day kind of thing now?
I'm aiming for us to have these conversations every year, sitting here and being like, well, okay, why are we supporting this? We're supporting this because that, and if you get just 5 people extra, 10 people extra, 100, that's gonna snowball effect. That's gonna take another family with you, another family, and that just spreads out.
It's a slow process, but I think the smaller actions through the year are the way to go.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for your time.
No problem.
Thank you.